Greetings, fellow cultivators. Welcome to Audio Nova. Remember to like and subscribe to support the journey. Today, we're diving into the story of what's the point of cultivating immortality if you don't have money. Compared to the initial tension with the evil god, Xiong Yu's current interactions with Fuji have become increasingly calm, even to the point of gradually getting used to having this thing attached to him. Of course, this is also due to Fuji's repeated displays of weakness, and her desire to invest in Xiong Yu, constantly showcasing her value. At this moment, after temporarily stowing away the great Sun Key Ocean, Xiong Yu asked Fuji, "What kind of mental cultivation techniques do you recommend?" Fuji was already prepared for this. After all, having observed Xiong Yu so closely for so long, she had already considered Xiong Yu's strengths, the direction he should develop in the future, and so on. Fuji said, "You've practiced the Desolate Bull Soul Suppressing Heart Sutra before, right? There's an upgraded version of this mental cultivation technique, an expert-level skill suitable for the mid-stage of ki refining, called the Crippled Bull Self-Sacrificing Heart Sutra." Although the evaluation of the Desolate Bull Soul Suppressing Heart Sutra wasn't good, with a score of 1.2, Xiong Yu had always felt that this mental cultivation technique was good. Hearing that there was an upgraded version, he immediately searched for it. Xiong Yu looked at the introduction of this mental cultivation technique in detail. Still worried about employees' irregular diets? Unhealthy routines? Prolonged sitting causing harm? Prolonged standing causing harm? Worried about employees' toxic work environment? Worried about employees' brains being damaged by long-term medication? Worried about employees' organs being severely worn down? As long as you let your employees practice the Crippled Bull Self-Sacrificing Heart Sutra, you'll never have to worry about such work-related injury compensation again. No matter how much damage their bodies suffer for work, employees will face it with optimism and positivity, so bosses no longer have to worry about their employees' health. Even with Xiong Yu's current experience in Kung Fu, he couldn't help but marvel at the sheer audacity contained within this mental cultivation technique. Scrolling down and seeing the 1.1 rating of this mental cultivation technique, he was even more impressed that the platform didn't allow 0 scores. Otherwise, this Crippled Bull Self-Sacrificing Heart Sutra would probably approach 0 infinitely. Even though Xiong Yu had practiced the Desolate Bull Soul Suppressing Heart Sutra, he couldn't help but ask, "Is this Crippled Bull Self-Sacrificing Heart Sutra really reliable?" Fuji's crisp voice once again entered Xiong Yu's mind. Fuji said, "The Crippled Bull Self-Sacrificing Heart Sutra, the idea contained in this mental cultivation technique, is to become happier the more pain you endure, using spiritual happiness to resist physical pain." The original intention of this mental cultivation technique was to encourage practitioners to be strong in the face of disability, a skill for encouraging the lowest level, wanting to give hope to the most hopeless disabled cultivators. Xiong Yu was slightly stunned and exclaimed, "This is a mental cultivation technique created for disabled people who can't afford treatment." Fuji spoke eloquently. Although the original intention of this mental cultivation technique was for disabled immortal cultivators, it is equally useful for non-disabled, immortal cultivators. After all, it's too normal for immortal cultivators to encounter physical pain, and this mental cultivation technique can help you resist it. And if you cultivate this mental cultivation technique to level 10, you can even speed up the recovery of injuries and strengthen the body by reducing mental consumption and increasing metabolism. It can be said to be one of the few mental cultivation techniques in the ki refining stage that can affect the physical body. Especially since this mental cultivation technique only requires internal visualization to have the effect of improving Dao heart, which is perfect for you to cultivate continuously for 24 hours. Xiong Yu's heart stirred so powerful. Fuji said proudly, like a child showing off a toy, "Do you even need to ask? I've roamed Kung Fu for so many years. How could the mental cultivation techniques I recommend be wrong?" Xiong Yu thought for a while and added the Crippled Bull Self-Sacrificing Heart Sutra to his collection. Speaking of which, although this expert-level mental cultivation technique has a very low rating, its sales are not low, and the price is as high as 30,000. Xiong Yu casually looked at the user reviews and found that this mental cultivation technique is a threshold skill for dangerous jobs in many factories, construction sites, laboratories, and other places, forcing many job seekers to learn it. Seeing this, Xiong Yu couldn't help but sigh slightly. A mental cultivation technique that wanted to bring hope to disabled cultivators was ultimately used to urge healthy cultivators to work in dangerous environments, turning them into disabled people step by step. Alas, this is Kongshu. Cafeteria. After temporarily deciding on the two mental cultivation techniques to practice, Zhang Yu began to prepare the application for the intercity travel permit. He was currently digging at the mush in his bowl while looking at the application requirements for the intercity travel permit. Whether it's education, savings, bank statements, he believed that with his current status, he could meet them with a little time and preparation. Only one thing required some effort, and that was housing. Without your own housing, you need to have rental housing. I didn't expect to go around in a circle and still have to find a house to rent. Just then, Bai Zhenzhen sat down with her meal tray and said with a depressed expression, "The prefabricated food window has been reduced by half again." Bai Zhenzhen originally wanted to eat more prefabricated food today to celebrate her ranking in the competition. Who knew that when she went over, she found that the prefabricated food window was reduced by half and the variety of dishes was less than a third of what it used to be. She looked around at this moment and realized that unknowingly, most of the students in the entire school were eating synthetic food, and the sales of prefabricated food were getting worse and worse. Bai Zhenzhen sighed in her heart. Alas, it seems that it will be increasingly difficult to eat prefabricated food in the future. Should I simply get a taste removal surgery done? Zhao Tianxing, who was next to her, also sighed upon hearing Bai Zhenzhen's exclamation. Since the Oasis Group entered Songyang City, more and more prefabricated food stores have been crushed. After all, synthetic food is really cheap. What about Red Pagoda Pasture? Jiang Yu asked. They should be a major producer of prefabricated food, right? Have they been affected? Zhao Tianxing said, I heard that after integrating the technology of the Oasis Group, Red Pagoda Pasture has begun to take a high-end route, and has also launched something called dragon meat. Zhang Yu thought of the true dragon bloodline of those top students from Red Pagoda High School in the competition, and thought that Red Pagoda must have injected dragon blood into cows and sheep. But the dragon blood came from a director of Red Pagoda, right? This feeling is like the high-level executives of Red Pagoda are constantly selling their own flesh, bloodline, and descendants in order to make money. It can only be said after all, this is Kongshu, Zhang Yu thought to himself, bosses will sell anything to make money. Just then, Qian Shen asked Zhang Yu curiously, Zhang Yu, are you guys renting a house? Zhang Yu nodded. I have something I want to go out of Songyang City for, and I need to apply for an intercity travel permit. The application requirements include a rental contract. Alas, it's really troublesome. This rental also has requirements. It can't be a sewer, construction site room, or the like. Qian Shen said my dad seems to have a few apartments for rent. I'll ask him for you later. Actually, you know so many people now. You can post a message on your moments to ask, maybe someone just happens to have an empty house to rent? Your grades are so good, maybe they'll rent it to you cheaper. Zhang Yu's eyes moved, feeling that Qian Shen made sense. I have a lot of rich people in my moments now, they should all have a lot of houses to rent, right? Zhang Yu immediately used his phone to post a message on his moments looking for a house. A moment later, with the sound of his phone vibrating, Zhang Yu saw that it wasn't someone who wanted to rent a house to him, but a message from Mo Tianyi. Mo Tianyi, congratulations on defeating Yu Xing'an and winning first place in the physical competition. Looking at this soul cultivator from the anti-rich alliance, Zhang Yu was slightly surprised. They haven't contacted us for a long time since they knew we signed under Zhang Pianpian. Why are they suddenly contacting us again? Just then, Mo Tianyi continued, the boss wants to meet you. Do you have time? Zhang Yu was slightly surprised when he heard this. He didn't expect that the poor people's boss, who he and Bai Zhenzhen had wanted to find but couldn't, would take the initiative to meet this time. Just then, Fuji said, don't meet this person. She explained, I heard you and Bai Zhenzhen talk about this person before. He is suspected to be a student of this guy. All signed contracts with the school, but ordinary people can't. Under the witness of the 8 divisions of righteous gods, both promise the poor people to pass the top 10 and take them to the second floor, and promise the rich people to sign contracts and be restricted from university and major. This boss of the poor people is likely to be the evil god hiding in White Dragon High School. Since you don't want to contact that evil god too early, you should avoid approaching this boss of the poor people. Zhang Yu was a little surprised when he heard this, and thought to himself that Fuji is getting more and more sensible. She didn't tempt him to hunt evil gods, or is she more far-sighted? Speaking of White Dragon High School, Zhang Yu thought of his sister, the strongest high school student in Songyang. On the way out of the cafeteria, he lowered his voice and asked, "What about my sister? Do you think there's a connection?" Regarding the strength of his sister, Xiong Yu had also thought about whether she, like him, had her potential stimulated by the evil god. "Your sister?" Fuji sighed. "She's probably walking the path of the gods. Even I only dare to speak softly in front of her. The evil god of White Dragon High School has no need, and definitely wouldn't dare to show his face in front of her, leaking his whereabouts." "Path of the gods?" Xiong Yu asked curiously. "What kind of path is that?" Fuji casually said, "The path to becoming a god. If she graduates from university smoothly, she may join the 8 divisions of righteous gods." Although the tone was casual, Fuji was not telling the truth. It's better for good people like Xiong Yu not to know about the path of the gods, lest he care about this Zhang Pian again, and can't stay, and take the foundation establishment certificate with peace of mind. After all, the path of the gods. In Fuji's view, if for most high school students other than monsters like Zhang Yu the college entrance examination is a 1 in 10 chance of survival, taking the foundation establishment qualification certificate is a 10 in 10 chance of death, and the path of the gods. When you embark on this path, you're already a dead person. Before school ended that day, the 300,000 after-tax prize money for the first place in the physical competition finally arrived. Zhang Yu waved his hand and let Bai Zhenjin go to the hospital to remove scars, all expenses paid by him, as a gift in return for Bai Zhenjin lending him her spiritual roots all along. Originally, he wanted to take Bai Zhenjin to the hospital to treat her himself, but who told him he had work to do after school today? Arriving in front of the gate of Xian High School, Zhang Yu once again passed through the disinfection channel and met this customer, Lemulin, in a practice room. Looking at Lemulin in the training room, Zhang Yu said speechlessly, "How are you going to fight dressed like that in a while?" Lemulin was wearing several layers of clothes from head to toe, even thick gloves on her hands, and a mask on her face, looking quite bloated. Zhang Yu cursed inwardly, thinking she was sick, and her mysophobia was too serious. "So," Zhang Yu said, "I disinfected when I entered the school. You don't need to be so exaggerated, do you?" Lemulin waved her hand and said, "It doesn't matter, let's start." After 2 months of training, Lemulin believed that her tolerance for Zhang Yu had greatly improved. But after 2 months, once again facing the other party in actual combat, she still decided to proceed gradually, such as wearing a few more layers of clothes at the beginning. Zhang Yu shook his head helplessly, but after all, the other party was a client paying 12,000 yuan per hour, so he naturally had to agree to any strange requests. Zhang Yu thought to himself, "Alas, it's so great to be rich, to be able to hire a genius male high school student, like me, to be a sparring partner." Lemulin said, "Let's start with ordinary combat, try your best to drag me into ground combat." So after a while, the two stood facing each other, and with Lemulin taking a deep breath and waving at Zhang Yu suddenly rushed up. With a series of bangs, Lemulin's sword energy and Zhang Yu's astral energy collided fiercely. Lemulin felt a terrifying force mixed with vast mana bombarding her. And she was originally inferior to Zhang Yu in strength, and her body was even slower under the wrapping of multiple layers of clothing, so she was beaten back steadily by Zhang Yu, and in a blink of an eye, she was within 1 meter of him. Then, with a burst of dizziness, Lemulin only heard a loud bang, and she had been thrown to the ground. Then she saw a pair of big hands grabbing towards her. Looking at the big hands belonging to Zhang Yu reaching out, a trace of instinctive disgust flashed across Lemulin's face, and her heart seemed to let out a sound of "you." So she hurriedly reached out to resist. In the past 2 months, although Lemulin had also learned a lot of close combat, grappling, and wrestling skills, she was naturally no match for Zhang Yu. Seeing that the other party was about to lock her hands and wrap his legs around her, Lemulin frowned and said, "Stop. Stop. Stop it now." Zhang Yu stopped helplessly and asked, "What's wrong again?" Lemulin quickly stood up, thinking to herself, "Sure enough, although I can bear it, I still really hated a poor person's body." But Lemulin knew that she had brought Zhang Yu here to overcome her mental weaknesses and be able to switch mental methods more flexibly. But the thought of the other party's poor hands touching here and there during the battle made her feel an unbearable sense of disgust. Especially after seeing Zhang Yu's moments every day, she clearly remembered that these hands had touched all kinds of encrusted bottles and jars, touched river water, touched roadside stalls, touched by Zhenjin. A poor person's hands are going to reach over and touch me randomly. This kind of thing is much more uncomfortable than simply holding hands last time. Sure enough, I still need to proceed gradually. So she thought for a while and said, next, you defend with all your strength, and I will try to control you in ground combat. You can't actively reach out to attack me. Xiong Yu nodded casually, thinking that it was the same price no matter how he'd trained. So in the next moment, the two fell to the ground again, but this time it was Lemulin attacking Xiong Yu. She reached out and hugged Xiong Yu from behind, locking her hands towards Xiong Yu's neck. Her legs were constantly trying to clamp towards Xiong Yu's thighs and lower abdomen. But under this offensive, she felt like she was controlling a giant dragon, and a terrifying force intertwined and agitated between the two, constantly resisting her control. Compared to 2 months ago, the strength of both of them was already different. Under the transmission of the strength of both sides, even though the quality of the clothes on Lemulin's body was already good, it still made a cracking sound. The several layers of pants she was wearing shattered layer by layer in the wrestling, revealing a pair of fair and powerful long legs. Xiong Yu's pants were not much better, and they were also torn to pieces. So as the two entangled, Xiong Yu felt Lemulin's thighs and his thighs tightly pressed together and rubbed. This cold physical contact felt very subtle, making him a little distracted for a while. After all, this was too different from his previous close contact with the client. And Lemulin, who also felt her thigh meat sticking to Xiong Yu's, almost formed a substantial look of disgust on her face, and her legs moved to the side subconsciously. But this action immediately showed signs of Xiong Yu breaking free, and Lemulin quickly reminded herself, endure. You have to endure. You have to overcome your psychological weaknesses. Fortunately, Xiong Yu was also a little distracted. Not only did he not break free, but Lemulin found an opportunity. At this moment, Lemulin hooked Xiong Yu's neck with both hands, and her legs were wrapped around Xiong Yu's waist. The slender and powerful thigh muscles exerted force, like to giant pythons, tearing a large piece of Xiong Yu's upper body to pieces with a hiss. Feeling his thigh meat and Xiong Yu's waist and abdomen tightly pressed together, Lemulin felt like she was clamping a bag of garbage with her legs. However, although her eyes were full of disgust, she finally insisted on enduring it. However, in the next moment, as Xiong Yu blocked Lemulin's hands from locking his neck with one hand, Xiong Yu's other hand reached towards Lemulin's thigh, trying to break the leg open. With a snap, it pressed on Lemulin's thigh meat. Lemulin's body is very powerful. Once she uses her strength, her flesh will definitely be much harder than ordinary bricks. But at this moment, under the powerful force at Xiong Yu's hand, Lemulin's thighs suddenly seemed to be full of flesh and slightly dented with Xiong Yu's pinch. It was also Xiong Yu's pinch that suddenly tightened Lemulin's body, as if it was about to straighten up. His hand. At this moment, Lemulin's mind was like a revolving lantern, constantly recalling the scenes she had seen in moments. It was these hands that had touched buses, taken the subway, grabbed synthetic food, been to Songyang High School's toilet, filled with the genes of the poor, and had touched another poor person, by Zhenjin, countless times. Now he's actually pinching her thigh. The nightmare on the arena 2 months ago seemed to be constantly churning out in Lemulin's mind, and it was even more violently contradicting the mental method in her mind. Lemulin bit her teeth tightly, feeling the place on her thigh being pinched more and more painfully, trying to keep the tears from falling from her eyes. And Xiong Yu here, while constantly defending against Lemulin's offensive, he felt the fragrance around him becoming more and more intense. What's that smell? Until Xiong Yu was locked in the throat by Lemulin's hands again, and his face gradually stained with a layer of sweat on the other party's arm, he understood. Damn it. Is Lemulin's sweat fragrant? No, something's not right. This sweat seems to be. As the two fought fiercely, Xiong Yu's body temperature rose rapidly, making Lemulin feel like she was clamping a fire stick. Her legs, chest, and abdomen felt hotter and hotter. And Lemulin's body was still icy cold, but Xiong Yu felt that the other party's hands were constantly secreting sweat, wetting his face. This is not sweat at all, it's a medicinal smell. This is Xian's potion, isn't it? Is it because of the super metabolism surgery? Will it directly discharge the dregs of the medicine in her body, as sweat? Smelling the potion smell constantly coming from the other party's body, Xiong Yu felt the blood in his body surging more and more violently, and the reaction of his brain nerves also began to become excited. No, who knows what kind of potent medicine Lemulin's medicine jar body has taken, I can't be affected. Zhang Yu knew that if a drug-fighting master was here, he might lick it and taste the ingredients of the medicine. As a supporter of natural body refining, Zhang Yu would naturally not take medicine indiscriminately. He quickly closed his mouth, held his breath, and tried not to be affected by Lemulin's sweat. When the sweat appeared all over Lemulin's body, especially when her thigh meat was sweating more and more, a greasy feeling gradually came, making Zhang Yu's hands also feel slippery. In the next moment, Lemulin, who had completely controlled Zhang Yu, was overjoyed, finally locked him. However, in the next instant after success, she released Zhang Yu like lightning, and with a whoosh rolled backwards and retreated more than 10 meters away. Zhang Yu lay on the ground with a flushed face, and there was a large pool of sweat on the ground that vaguely resembled a human figure, still steaming with heat. Lemulin asked, "Why couldn't you exert any strength at the end? You didn't hold back, did you?" Zhang Yu glared at Lemulin, unhappily, and said, "You sweat too much, your legs and hands are slippery and greasy, and they're all smelly, which made me hold my breath all the time." After saying that, Zhang Yu glanced at Lemulin and found that although the other party's upper body was a little damaged, it did not have much impact and still covered most of her body. On the other hand, on a pair of slender and straight legs, the pants were almost shattered in the battle just now, and you could still see a bruised handprint on the right thigh. Seeing this handprint, Zhang Yu asked a little embarrassedly, "Is your leg okay?" Lemulin was still thinking about what Zhang Yu had just said. Hearing this, she looked at the bruise on her leg, and said lightly, "It's just a small injury. My body has its own way on medicine, and it will heal itself in a while." "What did you just say? Why did you have to hold your breath?" Lemulin asked in confusion. "The super metabolism surgery makes my ability to absorb and decompose potions particularly strong. And the potions I use daily are of the highest grade. After these potions are absorbed by me, the potion excreted from the body surface is dross to me, but to ordinary students, it completely meets the normal drinking standards, without poison and side effects. You can even drink it directly, so you don't need to consider holding your breath, or anything." But Lemulin frowned and said, "You are not allowed to touch me with your tongue." Zhang Yu was furious. "You damn, I am a natural body refiner. Who cares about your dregs? Please give me a monthly ticket. My adaptability is quick. If this continues, it won't be long before I completely overcome my psychological aversion to poor people. That way, even if I switch cultivation methods in the future, my performance won't be affected." At the same time, inside the training room, Zhang Yu, who had been left behind, was lying on the ground, panting heavily, looking as if he had just been pulled out of the water. His entire body, including the ground beneath him, was covered in the scent of medicine and medicinal herbs. Just how much medicine does this woman take every day? Does she eat it like rice? But after resting for a while, Zhang Yu felt a surge of energy throughout his body. Despite having sparred intensely with Lemulin for 2 hours, he felt that his stamina was not only undiminished, but even more vigorous than before, and even the circulation of his inner mana seemed livelier. Is it the effect of the medicinal residue on Lemulin's body? Zhang Yu dared to swear to the heavens that, as a staunch supporter of the natural body refinement school, he had definitely not opened his mouth to lick a single drop of the medicinal liquid during his fierce fight with Lemulin. "Forget licking it, I was holding my breath from time to time. Can I still be affected by the medicinal liquid?" After all, the original Zhang Yu's internal organs were damaged by drugs, and the later Zhang Yu had always paid attention to the dosage of drugs, and never used drugs indiscriminately unless it was necessary. This was to avoid the side effects of the drugs from damaging his body. Feeling his current state, Zhang Yu thought to himself, could it be that contact through the skin counts too? And why does it feel even better than the medicinal liquid I usually use? It doesn't seem to have that feeling of pressure on the body. Just as Zhang Yu slowly walked out of the training room, Fuji suddenly said, "Leaving already?" Zhang Yu was slightly stunned. "Is there a problem?" Fuji said, "Aren't you going to collect the medicinal liquid?" Zhang Yu, "What medicinal liquid?" Fuji, "Isn't all of it on the ground?" Zhang Yu looked at the water stains on the ground that were still emitting white vapor, and his face darkened as he said, "Who wants to collect that?" Fuji said, "As Lemulin herself said, she really uses only the highest grade stuff. Even the sweat of such a rich person is more valuable than the medicine you use. Although it's now mixed with a lot of your sweat, the purity is much lower. But if you take it to sell as a supplement, you should be able to earn a few thousand." Zhang Yu turned around and left. Who knows what ingredients are in her medicine, what effects it has, or what side effects there are. Besides, I don't have a business license to sell medicine. What if I get caught? Fuji secretly thought it was a pity. She had originally wanted to suggest that even if he didn't sell it, he could take it back and drink it with Bai Zhenjin, but she suppressed the suggestion in her heart. Fuji thought to herself, the arrogance of the poor is still too strong in this Zhang Yu. He's already mixed up in the lowest level. If he can save money and make money, what can't he do? Using every resource to climb up is the attitude one should have in Kongshu. Zhang Yu looked at his torn pants, thinking that it wouldn't be appropriate to go back like this. After thinking about it, he sent a message to Lemulin, "You tore my pants. Transfer 200. 200 transfer received. Zhang Yu, can you send me a pair of pants?" More than 10 minutes later, Bian Tianji appeared in front of Zhang Yu, with a pair of pants. Bian Tianji asked curiously, "Are you doing combat training with the sacred first place?" Zhang Yu nodded. Yeah, the pants were accidentally torn. With that, he took the pants from Bian Tianji, and said thank you. Looking at Zhang Yu's torn clothes, Bian Tianji seemed to be able to imagine the intensity of the battle. He thought to himself, I also want to do combat training with the sacred first place, instead of coming over to deliver pants after the fight. Unfortunately, I don't have enough strength. I'm only closest to her when I'd become a stool. Bian Tianji looked at Zhang Yu's departing back and thought, only by becoming a top student like Zhang Yu can one fight the sacred first place up close, can one stand and approach her, instead of having to crawl to get close to the sacred first place. On the other side, Zhang Yu walked out of the training room, sensing his physical condition, and thought to himself, is the medicinal effect still working? I'll observe it for another day. If there are no serious side effects, maybe it's because Lemulin uses particularly high-quality medicines, so the side effects are small. Or is it because my body is getting stronger and stronger, and my internal organs are gradually becoming stronger, which also eliminates the toxins accumulated before? Or is it a combination of both reasons? After thinking for a while, Zhang Yu finally decided to continue to accompany Lemulin for training. After all, it's 12,000 yuan per hour, and 24,000 yuan for 2 hours. A job where you earn 24,000 yuan per visit, even if you're forced to use some medicine, as long as the consequences aren't serious, he'll endure it. After returning to the bridge, Bai Zhenjin hadn't returned from the hospital yet. Zhang Yu thought about it, and decided to buy a new cultivation technique to practice. After all, the 300,000 yuan bonus had already arrived. Zhang Yu's heart had long been eager to try, and he immediately spent 120,000 yuan to buy the right to use the Great Sun Key, see first. With this in and out, plus the sparring fee earned from Lemulin today, Zhang Yu had more than 210,000 yuan in savings left. After scanning the contents of the electronic secret manual, Zhang Yu thought that the Great Sun Key C was indeed not a difficult cultivation technique, just like the introduction said. The key to this cultivation technique lies in the accumulation of practice. Then, Yushu Zhang Yu. Let me see your limits. With the switching of Yushu's specialization, Zhang Yu had already begun to practice the Great Sun Key C. Although it was an expert-level key refining mid-stage cultivation technique, Zhang Yu's current stats were already not low, even higher than many second-year students in Songyang High School, enough to meet the cultivation requirements of the Great Sun Key C. He stopped the Jutian key gathering technique, which had been flowing endlessly in his body, as if it would never stop. The mana circulation that had been running throughout his body was interrupted, and all the mana was withdrawn into his dantian. Immediately afterward, a stream of mana was lifted from within the dantian, and gradually condensed by Jiang Yu into a stream of great sun mana that shone with tiny golden light. The newest novels are first published on li.g.sh.b. Then, this stream of great sun mana gradually traveled through Zhang Yu's meridians, beginning to construct a new mana circulation. While condensing the great sun mana, he constructed the mana circulation. Zhang Yu didn't feel any difficulty, only because with the mana control brought about by his cultivation of one level 10 cultivation technique after another, practicing this great sun key C was a breeze. What surprised him even more was that Zhang Yu felt that under the stimulation of streams of medicinal power, his mana circulated 3 times faster than usual. In the following practice, Zhang Yu felt even more energetic. It seemed that even the nerve-filling agent that eliminated sleep could be saved. Is it the effect of Lemulin's medicinal liquid? Not only does it replenish stamina, stimulate mana, but it can even boost energy and eliminate sleep? Zhang Yu thought of what Fuji had said before. Lamulin, could it be that the sweat she produces is really better and more valuable than the medicine I bought on the day of the competition? Damn it, these rich people are really damned. At this moment, Xiong Yu felt that he suddenly understood the feelings of those mortals who went to the sewers of Bailong High School to steal good oil. Because just now, he also had a moment of impulse in his mind, wondering if he should collect Lamulin's sweat to use next time he went to Xian High School. Stop, Xiong Yu. Don't be alienated by Kongshu. You are not this kind of person. Jiang Yu quickly gathered his mind and turned his attention back to the Great Sun Qi Si. 9 minutes passed. As the first cycle of the Great Sun Qi Si was completed, many insights suddenly emerged in Jiang Yu's mind, all of which were the points of attention in the operation of the Great Sun Qi Si. In addition to this, he felt that the temperature in his body gradually rose, becoming hotter and hotter. In the darkness, the stars gradually attracted Jiang Yu. That was the moonlight in the sky, the neon lights in the distance, the lights of thousands of homes on the opposite bank. Wisps of light were attracted by Jiang Yu, making him look like he was gradually emitting rays of light. Fuji observed this scene and thought to herself, as expected, it's done. Cultivating the first layer of the Great Sun Qi Si originally requires a month of sunlight exposure to allow the cultivator to gradually adapt to the Great Sun mana, but this step was completed by him in an instant. This kid's potential is indeed like my previous observations and judgments. As long as he practices, he can improve rapidly, and even jump over some of the limitations of the cultivation technique itself. Just as Fuji was thinking this, Jiang Yu had already continued to practice the Great Sun Qi Si, pushing the Great Sun mana throughout his body, constantly attracting the light in the night sky, also making himself brighter and brighter. When Bai Zhenjin returned to the bridge, Jiang Yu had already pushed the Great Sun Qi Si to level 1. At this moment, Jiang Yu revealed wisps of light from the inside out. When he opened his eyes and mouth, Bai Zhenjin could even see light emitting from Jiang Yu's eyes and mouth. Bai Zhenjin said in surprise, "Is this the Great Sun Qi Si you mentioned? Your movement is a bit big, it's sparkling and eye-catching." Jiang Yu felt the faint light released from his whole body and nodded slightly. "It is indeed a bit conspicuous, but I'm going to rent a house next, so I'll just hide in the room to practice." Bai Zhenjin, then can you save the electricity bill for turning on the lights with this trick? Jiang Yu shook his head and explained, "That's probably not possible. The essence of the Great Sun Qi Si is to absorb light and condense mana, not to release light. If I practice in the room, not only will I not save electricity, I'm afraid I'll have to turn on a high-power light bulb to shine on me, so that the mana extraction efficiency will be good." Bai Zhenjin exclaimed, "Then this cultivation technique is a big electricity consumer." Jiang Yu continued, "But as long as you get through the early stage, as the level of the Great Sun Qi Si is pushed higher, the effect of collecting light will become stronger and stronger, and there will be no light coming out of the body in the future. On the contrary, it will become darker and darker when you perform the technique. Then I can go outside every night to shine the lights of those skyscrapers." Listening to Jiang Yu's introduction to the Great Sun Qi Si, Bai Zhenjin marveled, but as she approached Jiang Yu, a strange fragrance rushed to her face, making her surprised. "Yuzi, what's this smell on you? Why is it so fragrant?" Listening to Nova. Hearing Bai Zhenjin's curious question, Jiang Yu immediately told her about Mulin and the potion. In the end, he said with a helpless expression, "I don't know if Mulin's potion has any side effects. I hope the tutoring fees I earn won't be less than the medical expenses." Bai Zhenjin said with a glint in her eyes, "You said her sweat can restore physical strength, excite nerves, and stimulate magic power. According to her, it can also heal injuries. Is this a panacea? Bring me some next time, and let me try it. I have strong drug resistance, and I'm not afraid of side effects." Jiang Yu realized that although he had been in Kongshu for a while, he still felt out of place in many ways. For example, even if he wanted to make up his mind about collecting the sweat of rich people, he could never convince himself. Seeing that Jiang Yu didn't respond, Bai Zhenjin said, "Then ask Mulin when she will invite us both to practice together. Didn't she say she would consider it during the physical competition?" Bai Zhenjin thought that since Jiang Yu was unwilling, she would collect the sweat herself. Jiang Yu said casually, "She said she needs to adapt before she can deal with both of us at once. I don't know what she needs to adapt to. I made her sweat all over by myself. How can she adapt to fight both of us at once?" As he spoke, Zhang Yu glanced at Bai Zhenzhen's calf and the exposed skin. He saw that the scars left from the martial arts competition had disappeared. Looking at the smooth, porcelain-like skin, Zhang Yu smiled and said, "Zhen, have you successfully removed all the scars on your body? Then you don't have to worry about the scars breaking when you go all out in the future." Bai Zhenzhen smiled and nodded, lifting her sleeves to show the newly repaired skin on her arm. "How do you think it looks?" "I think it's okay, basically no different from my old skin." Zhang Yu was about to praise the fair and soft skin when he suddenly saw its Xiong medical logo and asked in confusion, "What's this?" Bai Zhenzhen said casually, "It's an implant advertisement from the surgery. Either become a gold member of the hospital to avoid the advertisement, or spend an extra 2,000 yuan to remove it." "I won't spend that unnecessary money. Anyway, my metabolism is fast enough, and this thing will be metabolized in a few weeks." Hearing this, Zhang Yu nodded. Naturally, there was no need to spend money to remove an advertisement that would disappear soon. Zhang Yu asked again, "How much?" "I'll transfer the money to you to reimburse you." Bai Zhenzhen showed her electronic bill and said, "After participating in the promotional activity, they quoted me 38,888 yuan and gave me a physical examination as a bonus." After transferring the money to Bai Zhenzhen, Zhang Yu's savings dropped to more than 170,000, making him sigh that money was really easy to spend. Bai Zhenzhen cheered and hugged Zhang Yu from behind, pressing close to him. "Here's a reward for you, Yuzi." Feeling the true spiritual root entering his dantian and the spiritual energy pouring in from all directions, Zhang Yu couldn't help but hum comfortably. Bai Zhenzhen ran to the side and said, "Cultivate for a while first. I'll leave after I finish my makeup." Bai Zhenzhen began to put on wigs, tattoo stickers, pads one by one, preparing for her part-time job in the dark, tutoring world later today. After the spiritual root entered his body, Zhang Yu once again activated the Great Sun Qi Si. At first, nothing happened, but after a while, he felt that the true spiritual root seemed to be adapting to the Great Sun Qi Si technique, helping Zhang Yu absorb the light, faintly. However, after Zhang Yu circulated one cycle, Bai Zhenzhen completed her disguise. Zhang Yu could only wait until he got to the park to continue trying the true spiritual root's assistance to the Great Sun Qi Si. In the blink of an eye, 3 hours passed. Beside the park's small lake, the lights of the park's office building, the moonlight falling from the sky, and the streetlights not far away, strands of light, were constantly being absorbed by Zhang Yu, and the spiritual energy within was being refined into magic power. The Great Sun Qi Si had been pushed to level 2. At this moment, no trace of light could be seen on his body. Instead, he appeared even darker in the night. Under the influence of the true spiritual root, this darkness spread from his body gradually, to a range of dozens of centimeters around him, as if an invisible shadow was shrouding him. Zhang Yu thought to himself, as expected, the true spiritual route is indeed adapting to the new technique, helping me improve the efficiency of breathing in light, and absorbing spiritual energy. Fuji was even more moved when she saw this scene. Bai Zhenzhen's evolved spiritual route is too useful. It can change with the user's cultivation technique and cultivation direction, constantly adapting and evolving. It's simply an all-purpose spiritual route. Now this spiritual route has increased the Great Sun Qi Si's breathing efficiency by at least 10%. If it continues to adapt, I don't know how much it will eventually increase. At the same time, a trace of curiosity welled up in her heart. This spiritual root is currently about the level of a heavenly spiritual root. Will it evolve into a divine spiritual route in the future, or even a celestial spiritual route? Fuji couldn't be sure, but she became more and more curious. After all, above the heavenly spiritual route is the military-grade divine spiritual route, and above the divine spiritual route is the celestial spiritual route, specially supplied to the top 10 sects. Fuji thought to herself, if Bai Zhenzhen's spiritual route can evolve to a celestial spiritual route, that would be an incredible fortune, but also a great disaster. In the blink of an eye, a night passed. Welcoming the morning sun, Zhang Yu carried Bai Zhenzhen on his back, all the way from the distant suburbs towards the city. However, Zhang Yu had already pushed the Great Sun Qi Si to level 3. Even without deliberately circulating the energy, passive breathing was running on its own. Zhang Yu felt that the passive breathing effect of level 3 was about 30% of the active breathing effect of the Great Sun Qi Si. He estimated that this technique should be the same as the Jutian Qi gathering method. After being raised to level 10, there would be no difference between the passive and active breathing effects. At this moment, as the morning sun rose, Xiong Yu felt that the strands of sunlight were like sparks, being fiercely poured into his body. Accompanied by the endless circulation of the great sun magic power, they were constantly being absorbed into his dantian, and finally refined into Xiong Yu's own magic power. As the morning sun became brighter and brighter, Xiong Yu felt that the great sun qi in his body was running more and more fiercely. The golden great sun magic power brought a rolling heat flow, like flames, running back and forth in Xiong Yu's body, frantically craving and devouring the sunlight he absorbed. Xiong Yu felt that his dantian was more like a small furnace. As the light was absorbed, it was like adding fuel to the fire, burning brighter and brighter, and constantly spitting out more and more majestic great sun magic power. However, Xiong Yu didn't feel the slightest discomfort. Instead, he felt like he was basking in the sun in winter, a warm feeling. He thought to himself that the great sun qi was indeed better to cultivate during the day. The efficiency was completely different from last night. By Junjun behind Xiong Yu said in surprise, "Yuzi, you're getting darker and darker." He saw that as the great sun qi ran violently, Xiong Yu was covered in a shadow, looking several shades darker than before. Xiong Yu quickly looked at his body, and immediately realized this. Damn! Did I become a black man? He thought that it was good that he was in Kongshu. Otherwise, if he used this technique somewhere else, wouldn't he be shot every day? However, the great sun qi had its own way to eliminate the anomaly. As Xiong Yu moved his mind, slightly smoothing the great sun magic power, and reducing the passive breathing effect a little, the shadow on his body suddenly disappeared. Bai Zhenjun asked curiously, if you continue to upgrade this great sun qi, will the absorption of light become stronger and stronger, and eventually your whole body will become pitch black? Wouldn't that be used to hide your identity? Then you can try to evade tickets, hide from surveillance, and even steal and rob after you turn black. Zhen, you're going too far. Who told you that it's easier to commit crimes when people turn black? Xiong Yu was about to scold her loudly when he heard Bai Zhenjun say again, "Oh well, forget it. It feels like doing these things is not as profitable as underground tutoring. You also have to study how to pay taxes. It's too troublesome." Hearing this, Xiong Yu couldn't help but sigh that taxation was definitely an important factor in maintaining Kongshu's security. The latest novel is first published on 69shu.com. Just on the way back to the city, Xiong Yu's phone vibrated. He opened it and saw that it was a message from Yu Xing'an. "Yu Xing'an, you want to rent a house?" Xiong Yu's heart moved. She must have seen his message about renting a house in his moments, and asked about it. Thinking that she was a golden core disciple, and had a lot of wealth in her hands, she probably had an empty house to rent to him. So he immediately replied yes. "Yu Xing'an, the house I rent is a bit big. Do you want to share it?" Xiong Yu frowned and replied, "Golden core disciples still rent houses. Yu Xing'an, never buying a house is the philosophy of my sect. Instead of spending money to buy a house, it's better to invest in yourself." Xiong Yu thought that this Xinghe Zhenren was indeed a poor golden core. A dignified golden core Zhenren couldn't even afford a house in Songyang City on the first floor of Kongshu. Fortunately, he didn't join her sect back then. But when he asked about the rent, it was more than 100,000 a month. Xiong Yu felt that he had offended her. So Xiong Yu replied, "I don't like sharing." He thought that the conversation would end here, after rejecting Yu Xing'an. Who knew that she would send another link to a shopping platform? "Yu Xing'an, go in and click for me." Xiong Yu was slightly stunned. After a closer look, he was speechless. Good guy, Kunshu's version of cut a knife. Isn't Yu Xing'an a golden core disciple? Does she have to take advantage of this little thing? Xiong Yu was too lazy to pay attention to her. In the next day, Xiong Yu received more and more messages asking him about renting a house. Xiong Yu was basking in the sun on the roof, cultivating the great sun qi, when he received a rental message from Qi and Shen. It was a small apartment of more than 20 square meters, under his father's name. The rent was 6,000 a month. Xiong Yu was a little tempted because this price was definitely very cheap in the city. It was a friendship price that Qi and Shen gave him. When he was eating in the cafeteria, Xiong Yu received a message from Song Hailong. He directly sent a photo of the room. It looked much larger than Qi and Shen's small apartment of more than 20 square meters, and the lighting was very good. There was also a large balcony outside, which was perfect for him to cultivate the great sun qi. But there were a lot of washing machines. Why were there four in the room? Hearing Zhang Yu's question, Song Hailong replied, I haven't finished sending the photos yet. This is just the nanny's room. After seeing the photos that he sent later, including photos of the entire 200 square meter house and the rental price of 100,000 Zhang, Yu silently replied to empty, I don't like it. On the roof after school, Zhang Yu received a rental message from Lemulin. He opened the photo of the room and looked at it. Well, no bed, no sofa, no kitchen, and no TV, or anything like that. There were medicine cabinets, quiet rooms, body training equipment, and washing machines. The size was about 60 square meters, plus standard immortality decoration, which fully met the needs of Zhang Yu, and by Zhenjin. It was just that the Su Sujing disinfectant spray from Xian Pharmaceutical at the door made Zhang Yu feel a little uncomfortable. And the fact that there were two toilets in a 60 square meter house made Zhang Yu feel a little strange. Lemulin, this house is across the street from Xian High School. It's a house I used to use for a while. You only need to pay 2,000 a month. Lemulin, but if you move in, the sparring will be done here in the future. Lemulin, after all, it's not very convenient to change clothes at school. Lemulin, by the way, this house has two toilets, one of which is for my exclusive use. You can't enter. Jiang Yu calculated that Lemulin's exclusive toilet was about 30 square meters, accounting for half the area of the house. Zhang Yu cursed in his heart. Damn it, is the main body of this house actually your toilet outside of school? How many exclusive toilets do you want? Are you enclosing Lin everywhere? Zhang Yu, no problem, I'll rent this house. Looking at the rental information he received today, Zhang Yu felt that he had made a new discovery. Although Yu Xing'an, Song Hailong, Lemulin, the forces behind these rich people should be quite rich. But it always felt like Lemulin had fewer concerns when spending money. At this moment, Bai Zhenjin on the other side of the roof said, Yuzi, it's almost time. It's time to go to Beilong. Today was the day to go to Beilong High School, to conduct practical training, with Yu Xing'an and Song Hailong. Thinking of fighting with this golden core disciple, a trace of anticipation appeared in Zhang Yu's eyes. Seeking monthly tickets. Under the glow of the setting sun. On the rooftop of Songyang High School. Zhang Yu's great son Qi, within his body, had been pushed to level 4. With the cultivation of the great son Qi, his mana had broken free from the bottleneck of the original Zhetian Qi gathering method. Currently, it had reached 44.3 and was increasing rapidly. As the sun set and the sunlight gradually dimmed, Zhang Yu could feel the great sun Qi within him gradually coming down from its original boiling state. Sigh, the sunlight during the day is still better, the cultivation effect is strong enough. At night, I need to find some alternative methods. Just then, Bai Zhenjin, who was beside him, once again urged Zhang Yu to go to Bailong to earn Song Hailong and Yu Xing'an sparring fees. The reason for bringing Bai Zhenjin along was, of course, to recommend her as a substitute teacher. In the blink of an eye, the two had already entered Bailong High School. As half Bailong natives, they skillfully walked through various corridors with different colors and requirements, passing students who were kneeling and cultivating, and passing a math teacher who was being scolded by students. Along the way, they couldn't help but feel emotional. Zhang Yu thought to himself, Bailong High School has become a zoo. Since the two of them entered Bailong High School, almost 7 or 8 out of every 10 students they saw didn't resemble humans. For example, right in front of them, they saw a guy who looked like a bear demon, teaching a student who maintained a human appearance a lesson, along with another guy who looked like a werewolf. The bear demon's school uniform had the number 35 printed on it, the werewolf's had 36, and the human-looking student's chest had the number 99. The bear demon pressed down on the human's head, angrily saying, You little brat. You peeked at my study notes just now, didn't you? The human-looking student trembled and said, I saw it accidentally. The werewolf next to him said, A mere 99th rank, a piece of trash without even a demon-imitating muscle, dares to peek at the demonstration class's study notes. Take out your homework, we'll do your homework for you today. The human-looking student screamed and said in fear, No. Please don't take my homework. Just hit me, can you just hit me? Watching the three of them pulling and tugging, Zhang Yu thought to himself, apart from Yu Xing'an and Song Hailong, who have relatively strong control over their bodies, the rest of the Bailong students. It seems that the less human they look, the higher their status is on campus. It's really becoming a beastman kingdom, isn't it? Just then, the bearman noticed the human-shaped Xiong and Bai Zhenjin, as well as the Songyang High School uniforms they were wearing. Songyang trash dares to come to our Bailong Empire. The bearman immediately frowned and walked towards Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin. What are you two doing at Bailong? The other werewolf also walked over, looking down at Zhang Yu condescendingly sneaking around. Are you here to steal our Bailong's learning experience? Zhang Yu helplessly scratched his head. Well, I'm here to find you Xing'an and Song Hailong. The bearman and werewolf both looked disbelieving. The top student and the second top student of our Bai Long High School would know Songyang trash. Just then, a taller figure walked over and said upon seeing Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin, long time no see, you too. Zhang Yu's eyes moved, and he said, Chiqiu. The person who came was Chiqiu, who had lost to Zhang Yu in the martial arts competition. The bearman and werewolf next to him, upon seeing Chiqiu, who had always maintained his rank in the top 5, immediately prostrated on the ground, like submissive bears and wolves. Chiqiu glanced at the two of them, and said lightly, this is Zhang Yu, the double champion of the martial arts competition and the sports competition. He even defeated me in order to win the martial arts competition. Hearing these words, the bearman and werewolf were both shocked. They hadn't gone to watch the competition back then. Although they had heard of such a ruthless person, this was the first time they had encountered him. The two immediately knelt down again, shouting in unison, Big Brother Zhang Yu. Chiqiu continued. He doesn't have demon-imitating features because he has completely controlled the demon-imitating muscles in his body. So he is not an ordinary Songyang High School student, he is the emperor of Songyang High School. Disrespecting him is disrespecting me. The next moment, Chiqiu used a cold tone to punish the 2 inches after school today. You don't have to do your homework. Tomorrow morning, you are not allowed to hand in a single assignment. Hearing Chiqiu's words, the bear and the wolf instantly looked, as if they had lost their parents, their faces full of panic, and they slowly retreated with their tails between their legs. After teaching the two a lesson, Chiqiu turned to look at Zhang Yu, and explained, I'm sorry for making you laugh, Zhang Yu, these students haven't been to the competition, and don't know what the top students of Songyang look like. You're here to find Brother Xing'an and Brother Hailong, right? They're waiting for you in the practice room over there. Under Chiqiu's guidance, Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin walked all the way to the practice room, at the end of the corridor. Suddenly, a group of tall, muscular, but gray-haired, haggard, and numb-faced old men passed by in front. Even from a distance, Zhang Yu could feel a strong resentment coming towards him. Then, in Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin's surprised gazes, Chiqiu bowed and said, Hello, seniors. The old men waved their hands casually, seemingly too lazy to say even a word, and floated away with a gloomy aura. Zhang Yu asked curiously, Who are they? Chiqiu said, They are seniors in their 3rd year. The pressure of studying is high, so some seniors age faster. Damn, they're aging way too fast, aren't they? They look like they've already stepped into the coffin with half a foot. Zhang Yu secretly slandered that this might be related to some immortal techniques again. However, even so, Zhang Yu did not dare to underestimate them. In fact, after learning about the foundation establishment examination from Zhang Pianpian, and being required to reach the level of a 3rd-year high school student before the first round of the examination, Zhang Yu began to look up the 3rd-year data of Bai Long High School. Fortunately, Bai Long has always heavily promoted and even desperately instilled the academic data of different nodes in high school to the students, so it was not difficult for Zhang Yu to look it up. Zhang Yu thought to himself, however, in the 3rd year of high school, students are still making rapid progress, and of course, the data at each stage is different. For example, when they first enter the 3rd year, the average value is about Dao Heart level 6, mana around 70 units, and physical strength above level 7.5, right? And by the time of the college entrance examination, the average value is probably Dao Heart level 8, mana around 90 units, and physical strength above level 9.5. The latest novels are first published on Lu9chuba.com. When they learned this data, Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin both felt a sense of pressure, especially when they thought of what Zhang Pianpian had said to reach the level of a 3rd-year high school student before the first round of the foundation establishment examination. Zhang Yu thought to himself, there are still 4 months left until the first round of the foundation establishment examination begins. He knew that the foundation establishment examination would start registration in June, the first round of examinations in August, the second round in October, and the final round in January next year. According to this timeline, when participating in the first round of examinations, the opponents would include students from Xiong and Bai Zhenjian's grade, who had finished their first year and were about to enter their second year. There were also students who had finished their second year and were about to enter their third year. And these students who are about to enter their third year, in August, are our main competitors. Considering the background and strength of these students, and the fact that they entered the path of immortality a year earlier than us, they will definitely have reached the level of a third-year high school student by the time of the first round of examinations, in August this year. Zhang Yu's mind flashed with the results of the third-year Bai Long students, and he thought to himself, even if we use the lowest standard and treat the Bai Long students who have just entered their third year as imaginary enemies, the average data is Dao Heart level 6, mana around 70 units, and physical strength 7.5. And as the foundation establishment examination progresses, the opponents will also continue to improve, and the values in the second and final rounds of examinations will only be higher. Whenever they thought of this, Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjian felt a sense of pressure coming towards them. After all, Zhang Yu's current Dao Heart is only level 4, his mana is 44.3, and his physical strength is level 4.96. And Bai Zhenjian's values are even weaker than Zhang Yu's. Faced with this situation, the two of them were also determined. It's mid-April now. In 4 months, before the first round of examinations in August, we must at least reach the average level of Bai Long students who have just entered their third year. Dao Heart level 6, mana above 70 units, and physical strength above 7.5. When Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjian arrived in the practice room, they saw Yuxing and Song Hailong fighting as one. Each of Song Hailong's punches and kicks, with his massive figure, brought about bursts of wind and thunder, like huge steel pillars, constantly lashing towards Yuxing. But each time, Yuxing steadily caught them with one hand. It seemed that Song Hailong was attacking frantically, but it felt as if he was completely suppressed. Seeing the arrival of Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjian, Yuxing could still smile, steadily, and say, "Zhang Yu, you're here? I and Song Hailong were just warming up. Since you're here, let's start." The next moment, accompanied by Yuxing and Song Hailong's fists and palms colliding, the elephant-like Song Hailong retreated repeatedly, stepping out a series of popping explosions on the ground. Knowing the gap between himself and Yuxing, Song Hailong was not surprised by this. He just took a deep breath, calmed the churning qi and blood in his body, and then looked at Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjian. Song Hailong frowned and said, "You said Bai Zhenjian can conduct real combat training with me?" Bai Zhenjian said with a cold face, "Defeat me first, then consider the matter of real combat with Zhang Yu." Song Hailong snorted coldly and waved at Bai Zhenjian, "Then, I'll defeat you first, and then fight Zhang Yu." The next moment, the two had already started fighting fiercely. Song Hailong was like a rampaging giant elephant, his hands rolled up bursts of great force, sweeping towards Bai Zhenjian's location, to capture her in one go. But Bai Zhenjian was as fast as lightning, flashing back and forth around Song Hailong, her body breaking sword qi erupting at will, almost touching and leaving, not giving Song Hailong a chance to compete in strength at all. After the two started fighting, Yuxing also turned his gaze to Zhang Yu, looking at this opponent, who had surpassed him in the sports competition. It was from that time that Yuxing thought of letting Zhang Yu be his sparring partner, becoming another whetstone for himself.